And hello internet, Lord Ozunu here. See, there is this internet folklore called the SCP organization, in which there are all kind of different monsters with extreme power unknown to the humanity. And the entire point of the organization is to, you can see it here, secure, contain and protect from all those kind of dangerous monsters. Of course, it's not like they are only holding monsters out there, they are also some kind of machines or irregular object that can actually be dangerous for the normal human. And of course, anything that is dangerous and paranormal, unexplained, this organization will explore and it will hide it from the public, and they will look how to use the power of those objects for the greater goods of the people. But of course, I'm talking especially today about the creature known by the code name SCP-682. Now, this creature looks like some kind of the crocodile or similar reptile, but you see, the problem with him is he's basically indestructible. And you see, in this organization work some of the smartest people of the planet, and they test all kinds of the dangerous objects or weapons on this creature, and he survive, adapt. He's like the Doomsday from DC Comics, but only in SCP version. He will just adapt to anything that you throw at him, and after that he will basically become immune to that. And that is the reason why I must tell you how ridiculously strong this creature is before I start talking about who from the characters that I will present can actually hurt him and defeat him. Now, this statue is one of the original SCP. The story about it is very simple. It's some kind of demonic possessed statue that you must look constantly, and it will just stand in the place doing nothing. But if you blink, or if you look away, it will teleport basically with unmeasurable speed, means so fast that a human eye cannot even track it, and it will snap your neck. Because of these scary powers, SCP organization put this statue in the place where was 682, and of course, when the creature didn't look, it snapped its neck. But now, instead of SCP-682 to die, it starts developing itself in the way that it should not be killed, like growing up many eyes, so it can track the statue no matter where it is in the room. Also, the personnel later start shooting eyes of the crocodile creature, hoping that that will stop it from looking in the statue, but instead it developed new sets of eyes that was basically bulletproof and it could not be damaged. That is why this creature get a nickname Hard-to-Kill Reptile, because even when they don't use regular weapon like the gun or the machine gun or the bombs, even the nukes can be thrown at him, and yet it will still regenerate from all those injuries, and after that it will be basically bulletproof to death. I mean, not just bulletproof, I mean, come on, if you throw a nuke on him and it survive and regenerate, it will basically become nuke proof. That is kinda crazy this creature actually is. They even use special kind of book called SCP-862, if I remember right. And what is specific about this book, it got how to say it, reality warping powers. I mean, if you in this book write something in the history or something that should happen in this particular moment, it will happen. It will literally change reality to adapt to the story that you write in the book. And they actually use this book in the way they write how it show up a creature that it actually can kill SCP-682, and it survive. Basically, it survived a plot manipulation. That is like something that Bugs Bunny do in the cartoon, you know, when he rewrite the story of the entire universe in which he lives, and this basically countered that. It goes against the plot manipulation, it goes against the author intent. This creature can somehow survive what author intend to happen in this universe. There are no words to describe how crazy. But believe it or not, it can go even crazier when this creature is in the story. You see, the organization decide to experiment with him, with the machine that actually can change the natural law of the universe, like increasing radiation, or the change how physics work, or how even reality itself work. So they throw him around, they put the machine on the level that it should kill the individual creature that was inside of machine, and it destroyed the SCP-682 body that much that actually remained only a 1% of his body mass, so 99% of his body was obliterated. And after that it still regenerate and became the unknown life form. So the question is, can even the creature that can kill this thing exist in the first place? Well, not exactly that, but in the past it happened that he indeed have a few small weaknesses that I'm trying to expose here. You see, in the SCP organization there is this little slime that can go freely in the organization. You know, in this place full of weird monsters, creatures and objects that are unknown, this creature is actually friendly to the all staff that work here, and that is why it can go anywhere it wants, hanging out with other monsters that will not come to do any harm to the humanity at the first place. That is why he is so loved. But the question is now, why should we care from some fluffy cute creature that will not hurt anyone? Well, you see, he has the rare ability that surpass even the mightiest creature here. Even slightest touch to him, or exposing yourself to this creature, will cause even the most evil people in the world that you can possibly imagine automatically turn good. People who are depressed, who have anxiety and who deal with all kinds of stress of life, when are exposed to this cute creature named SCP-999, will become happy and they will enjoy life, they will have purpose. Even when it came close to the creature who are basically pure evil and just want to destroy, like SCP-096, who is kind of creature, if someone see his face, it will automatically go into full rage mode and it will destroy everyone who saw his face. But once he is exposed to the SCP-999, he will actually stop his aggression and his path to the destruction. That is why logically they expose SCP-682, who basically hate all life form, to SCP-999, simply because the personnel who work in the SCP organization was actually interested in what is going actually to happen when we have the two creatures. One is pure evil and one is actually the pure joy and help people in all kinds of way. And what was interesting in that fight, SCP-682 simply stepped on him, but somehow 999 just regenerate and start crawling over him, and now SCP-682 was actually happy and started enjoying first time in his life. You see, 999 is actually so powerful, there is a legend that say that he will defeat the Scarlet King, the most powerful creature in the history of the SCP organization. What is also interesting is the fact that they say it will not be defeated with the power or strength. No, it will actually going to defeat him with the power of happiness and even determination. It kinda remind me on the fight that there was in the game of Undertale, in which on one side we have Frisk, who was basically a helpless child fighting the god of hyper death, Azrael Dreamer, but he defeated him with pure determination, because he was so determined to show him that yes, there is the other way and you don't have to do all this kind of evil. But now back to the topic of our indestructible flaming demon lizard. You see, I was first thinking how about to compare him to the dangerous creature from one of the Godzilla movies, and that will be the Muto couple. But then I stop and say, you know what, Mutos are pretty damn incredibly powerful, and I mean those creatures basically eat nukes for breakfast. But is there a more powerful creature in all those kind of monsters? Well, there is kind of this interesting creature that is known mostly as the knockoff of the Godzilla itself, and I think it is interesting to put it out here. I mean, this guy would actually be pretty tough challenge for a couple of Muto, and that will be legendary Gamera. You see, what is actually interesting about the Gamera creature itself is that this power uses fire in the way that is unknown for the other kinds of kaiju. Because come on, look at this, it's literally spinning like a shuriken, and not to mention with his enormous weight, that kind of attack would be extremely deadly. Not to mention this creature actually fights other creatures who actually destroy with their atomic breath or laser kind of attack entire buildings, skyscrapers, bridges, and all those construction like that's basically nothing, and he still can cut him and throw them to the other side of town. Not to mention it can actually stop those kinds of incredibly strong attacks like they are basically nothing. So we know that we are dealing with a creature that possesses incredible power, and that is kind of creature that we would actually want in the fight with the lizard that is basically indestructible. I mean, come on, the only way to actually kill it is to destroy it 100% without even a scratch. And who could do that better than Gamera with all those kinds of incredible fire attack in the combination with the incredible body weight? The power that this creature could actually produce should be even stronger than the nuclear attack. I mean, just think about how ridiculous that is. Of course, we are also going to talking about the other guy.
Lakers are looking for a big man.
Yeah, basketball Godzilla, where 90s were really strange times. Now, in the history of the Godzilla, it fights all kinds of different monsters, from mechanical, primeval gods. Now it is kinda transformed into Shin Godzilla, which was called scientifically more accurate than Godzilla that showed up in the past. But it doesn't matter what kind of fans of Godzilla are you, even if you like the green skin Godzilla from the Marvel comics, that I was thinking, how about that Godzilla fight actually Thor? You know, that was all kind of awesomeness when we are talking about Godzilla. But how about we are talking about a version of Godzilla that actually was able to fight the Greek gods themselves, you know, going full Kratos on them? Well, I'm going to say a lot about those things, and also I'm going to use some advice that was created by the legendary power scaling master Chuck, who make awesome video. You should check it. You see, now when we are talking here, we are not just going to talk about Godzilla, we are also going to include all kinds of the ancient mythology that was connected with those myths about ancient China, Mongolia, Japan, etc., and all those kinds of the mythology. Of course, there's the reason why I think this Godzilla can actually win against our SCP, and now you will hear more about that.
Our story begins in 1274 during feudal Japan. Straight off the bat, the island nation was faced with a conquest by the gigantic Mongol Empire, which during the time was the largest empire in the world. Nowadays, its peak only being second to the peak of the English Empire. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, had conquered large parts of the powerhouse that was China itself, and then set his sights into Japan. To try to take over them, he sent out 900 battleships carrying a force of 40,000 battle-hungry warriors. And now this is where the historical accuracy ends, as the mind-controlled duo, Megalon and Gigon, were also sent out by the Mongols to make the victory as effortless as possible. Or so they thought. In response, two Japanese warriors decided to control a legendary serpent-like monster known as Yamata no Orochi, an 8-headed and 8-tailed beast that would put a stop to the army. But unfortunately, he was caught in a battle with Godzilla himself. It bit and roared at Godzilla, but to no avail. Godzilla responded by slamming it down and blasting it with its trademark atomic breath, killing the serpent about as quick as it appeared. Rest in peace, boyo. All hope seemed lost for Japan until Godzilla was baited into fighting Megalon and Gigon. He held his own against both of them and cunningly dodged their attacks, and he even used them against each other. Unfortunately for the Mongols, the mind control for the two kaijus was destroyed, and in response, both of them basically cucked away and ran away from Godzilla, leaving him free to basically utterly slap and blast away hundreds of battleships into the depths of the sea. According to real Japanese accounts, there were like these massive fleets that were sent out by Kublai Khan, but fortunately, there were these massive typhoons which had smashed and destroyed the fleets. So basically, in this narrative, the typhoon was Godzilla himself. But we don't really care about that. What we are really here for is about Godzilla's defeat of Yamata no Orochi. The story behind Orochi is told in the Kojiki, a greatly important book in Japanese culture which talks about the creation of the heavens, the earth, and of the kamis themselves. Orochi was a huge monster, being as long as 8 valleys and 8 hills, who ate one of the 8 daughters of an old god couple every year until they were left with only their youngest, Kushi Nadahime, who represents the rice fields. Hearing their cries of despair, Susanoo, the Japanese storm and sea god, and brother to Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun, found the parents and said that he would save her from Yamata no Orochi if he could take their daughter's hand in marriage. To defeat it, Susanoo told the couple to make some very potent adult Kool-Aid drink. It's not actually Kool-Aid, but we'll just say it is, which got Yamata no Orochi so buzzed, and in turn, Susanoo was able to cut it apart and defeat it. If Susanoo had to heavily impair Orochi's senses to defeat it, it implies that he would have had a hard time defeating it normally, which speaks volumes about Orochi's strength because Susanoo actually has some pretty cool feats in the mythology. Susanoo is easily capable of destroying forests and mountains with ease, and he also shook the entire earth itself when he wished to say farewell to Amaterasu after being banished from heaven. And if that wasn't enough, when Susanoo was pretty sad boy, his weeping dried up all of the oceans and rivers on the earth, while mountains and valleys became devoid of greenery. So he basically absorbed the biomass of the Earth itself, easily granting him planetary ranges of energy. Within the context of the Kojiki, he could be argued even higher, as the Earth and Heaven are 2 parts of the great universe itself. But at the very least, Susanoo is a planetary level god, yet Orochi was too much for him to handle normally, making Godzilla effectively planetary in this tale as well. And I mean, he defeated it without any special means, so that's pretty impressive. But in issue 2 is where we get to much higher territories of power. The next issue brings us into ancient Greek times. After Godzilla defeated 2 rival factions of ships, the Greek pantheon above grew concerned with what had happened and why the humans were battling each other without caring about what the gods thought. And the reason they got insulted is because back then it was pretty traditional to pray to the gods for a blessing in the battle. So basically due to this, Zeus was pretty upsetty spaghetti that the humans didn't call upon them, to back them up in their warring. So at Poseidon's request, he went to investigate, which little did he know would mark the end of his rule as king of the seas. Poseidon then encounters Godzilla himself, obviously, and battles him with futile results. Godzilla, of course, comes out triumphant and rides Poseidon's wave to reach Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. As he begins his Chad ascent, Zeus basically keeps spamming him with thunderbolts, trying to get a critical or, trying to paralyze him or something, seemingly not doing anything to him. In response, Ares, the god of war, gets pretty mad and charges at him, trying to cut his head off or something, until Godzilla casually one-shots him with the blue hue of his breath. Zeus at this point is like, alright bro, you wanna play like that? I'll play like that too. So he sends out the legendary multi-headed Hydra to fight Godzilla, and puts up a much better fight, even as its heads are ripped off numerous times, continuously growing more and more in their place, because he's able to regenerate. Hydra is revered for having very potent venom that can affect immortal gods, yet Godzilla got bitten numerous times and didn't seem to care. While Godzilla fights Hydra, he is continuously blasted by Zeus. He still thinks he's gonna do something. Growing angrier by the minute, Godzilla decides to just BTFO the whole pantheon by pushing Hydra into Mount Olympus to crumble and demolish it entirely. The destruction is quite massive as it manages to kill off all of the Greek gods but Zeus, meaning that Hades, Hera, and the cutie Aphrodite were all donezoed. Zeus then realizes that what Hera said earlier was true, that without belief from the humans or respect from them, gods are powerless. In a rage, Zeus acquires like some anime power-up and uses the last of his power to blast Godzilla with a massive lightning bolt, which he thinks was enough to kill him.
And then along came Zeus. He hurled his thunderbolt.
Ha! Nice try, jackass. Next time, give it your A game.
Psych! It actually just displaced it from the time stream as Godzilla later re-emerged from Mount Vesuvius, seemingly unharmed, and in turn he causes the infamous Mount Vesuvius eruption, which destroyed and buried multiple cities, and also killing a now human Zeus in the process. So yeah, Godzilla pretty much pulled a Kratos in this storyline and managed to kill off all of the Greek gods. However, there is something quite important to mention here. Narratively, it's implied that the Greek gods' power was nerfed greatly due to the humans no longer praying to them or viewing them with importance. But just cuz, for fun, you know, let's just wank this version of Godzilla simply going off of his victory over the Greek deities in a mythological sense. I'll be going over accounts told in the Hesiod, Homer's Iliad, and the Ovid, amongst other works to see how strong these gods are. Zeus is highly revered for his power as he's been said to have boundless might, which is pretty evident as it's been said numerous times that Zeus's mighty powerful thunderbolts could not only shake the earth and the heavens, but that he could destroy the universe and even affect the void of chaos itself. Hell, just by shaking his head, he shook the universe. During ancient times, the Greeks believed that the earth was the centrical sphere of the universe. Why do we always believe that we're like the center of everything? Anyways, it was then surrounded by outer spheres of elements such as water, fire, earth, and air, which was then surrounded by more spheres representing the planets in our solar system. The cosmological sea that surrounds the Earth has been said to be boundless and eternal, in effect having a size beyond comprehension, or, simply put, infinite. So Zeus basically shook and threatened to wipe out an infinite universe, and has done so multiple times in Greek mythology. One of his best feats was when he defeated Typhon, a serpent-like giant who was deemed as being one of the most powerful amongst Gaia's children. Typhon's terror was no joke as it had threatened the heavens itself, and many of the Greek gods couldn't compete with it, yet Zeus was chat enough to defeat it with a signature thunderbolt. His brother Poseidon, the Lord of the Seas, and his brother Hades, the Lord of the Underworld, have been said to being at least comparable to Zeus and should be able to replicate the same universal feats as well. Hera, one of Zeus's many, and I mean many wives, was a mighty powerful goddess who not only defeated Titans alongside her siblings, but she had also created the Milky Way galaxy itself alongside several constellations, such as the Hydra and Crab formations. Hercules, who had managed to best Ares in combat before with Athena's help, as mighty as he was, still needed outside help and a special weapon to defeat Hydra, because its regenerative properties were way too much to get around. Hydra is no joke because it is one of the most feared guardians of the underworld, and it is effectively a monster that is more than a challenge for most Greek gods who can already perform star to universal plus level feats. But hey, Godzilla is the literal embodiment of a honey badger in this story because he didn't give any shits about Zeus's spammy ass thunderbolts, Poseidon's tsunamis, or Hydra's venom. Since he defeated many universal level beings, this would effectively make him universe plus, simply put, high universe level, although more than likely low multiversal. Speed, at the very least, massively faster than light, since Zeus's thunderbolts could reach realms in mere moments, and gods like Hermes are fast enough to travel from realm to deliver messages.
As you can see, if you take all those kinds of mythology seriously and literal, and we say that indeed this Godzilla is similarly like in the story Godzilla and Hell, in the same exact level as the creature who are actually showing up in those mythology, we could say that Godzilla is indeed on this ridiculous level of power. So if that is the case, and Godzilla is basically on the low multiversal level, indeed I don't see why it should not be able to kill the SCP creature. Of course, in this video particularly we are talking about the form that humanity can see. You know, this SCP actually possesses the true form that it cannot be seen by the mortal creatures, but we are actually thinking about the manifestation that we are seeing here on Earth. Of course, I was also thinking who else would I put to fight this incredibly hard-to-destroy reptile. Well, I was thinking how about to put some characters from the anime, and the first character that I was thinking about was Ichigo Kurosaki from the Bleach anime, but instead, you know what? Naruto Uzumaki actually possesses some pretty incredible feats, perhaps even superior than Ichigo himself possesses. So why should not I use him instead of the Ichigo at the first place? But of course this is perfectly logical, because you see after Naruto end the Boruto start showing up, but after Bleach ended once there was no actually new incredible feats for the main character. Now we, on the other hand, Naruto, we deal with the entire arc of the time travel that is actually pretty interesting, and they are fighting the new incredible opponent that is so powerful that even Naruto himself can defeat him. So he was basically putting this idea how about to fight him to death, basically.
We get the conversation between Kurama and Naruto. Naruto straight up tells him he's gonna die protecting the village. That's what a Hokage does. He's ready to die, he just hopes that he can distract Ishiki as long as possible until he does die. When Kurama realizes that Naruto has no real plan except dying, he decides that since Naruto is already prepared to die, there might be another way. Meaning that Kurama believes this way can actually compete with or even defeat Ishiki, although it will cost Naruto his life. This is huge because if a weaker Ishiki could defeat the combined force of Naruto and Sasuke, then this means Naruto's new form will completely separate him from Sasuke in terms of power, his lifelong rival. And so Sasuke is going to get Vegeta as well as Yamcha. Definitely not a great time for Sasuke fans. Kurama goes on to tell Naruto that this way he speaks of is do or die. Last stand, ace up your sleeve kind of thing. Only worth trying since Naruto is expecting to get killed anyway. And this is a huge reveal since we followed these guys for so long and we never knew about this ace up their sleeve. And when Naruto asks why Kurama never brought it up before, he says because Naruto will die. Naruto will be killed either way, so might as well go out with a bang. Naruto then tells Kurama he's ready. And bam, we see the new form that shocks Sasuke, who barely recognizes him, and even Ishiki, the usually composed, overpowering presence, is shocked, thinking, WTF, what's with this chakra? End quote. So clearly it's suggested that this is by far the strongest Naruto has. Kurama believes enough that this form might make a difference that he brought it up even if it means certain death. Just like Ishiki, this form seems to have a time limit and be irreversible. Yet it seems to be irreversible once started, implying that once undertaken, the form cannot be undone in order to save what remains of the user's life. We've seen a similar thing even in Naruto, where if you open the gate of death, you'll become unimaginably stronger, but it will almost certainly cost you your life, as happened with Might Guy's dad, Might Dai. Another parallel is Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins and how he can convert his life energy to become the One Ultimate. I think similarly, Naruto's form will burn through his life energy in exchange for these kinds of insane levels of power. A level of power that, in my view, will at least equal Ishiki's. Now the question is, will this form really kill Naruto, the protagonist we've been following for years and years, the character we've watched grow from being an underachieving and lonely kid?
Nah, I don't think so. After all, there will be no Boruto if there was Naruto at the first place. I mean, it's not like Masashi Kishimoto will throw up entire history just for the new villain. Of course, I want to mention the reason why I think that Naruto in this kind of form can actually win is because it's interesting what this new form actually can do. You see, even in the Paint arc, it's implied that if a character possesses incredible power, he has resistance to all kinds of incredible hacks power that exist in the Naruto universe. And if that is the case, with the fact that Naruto possesses this incredible form that make him the strongest character in his own universe, it's clear that he possesses a resistance to all the previous power that we saw, and with account of all the incredible powers we saw in the Narutoverse, it's clear that yes, he could defeat Ichigo, and also he could defeat the visible form of the SCP that we are talking about in this video. Of course, Naruto is not the only one from the anime that I will use as an argument to say that he could actually defeat the indestructible wizard. Of course, I'm not sure who those characters actually destroyed for good. I just said if they fight, they could defeat him. That's pretty much, I'm sure that Naruto in this new form would be capable of defeating that
I'm
wizard.
grateful that the world still breeds such madness.
But another character that I'm pretty sure that in this
it's time to play, Alhambra!
Wizard would be
I want to
the
hear you
Alucard
squeal like
from
a
the
pig.
horror anime
Alucard.
Hellsing.
No,
and Hellsing
not that
Ultimatum,
one.
not
The gothic,
that
brutal,
blonde
dark,
guy
and
from the other
battle-crazed
anime. No,
maniac
I mean,
main character of Hellsing.
This one.
Yet, despite being an absolute beast and dominating all of his opponents, Hellsing manages to use him just right so that the series doesn't become boring or uninteresting due to his overwhelming power. This is going to be a bit of a breakdown and analysis on his character, and why I and many others find him to be so fascinating. This will include spoilers, so I would highly recommend watching Hellsing Ultimate or reading the manga before watching this video. But in the mid-2000s, in a time where Twilight was just beginning its popularity, searching for good vampire fiction was a little bit difficult. But when I found Hellsing the manga, my angsty teenage self was more than satisfied to dive into this crazy world of an organization hunting down supernatural threats as well as Nazis. Who doesn't like a good Nazi killing, am I wrong? There was nothing not to love, and Alucard is first shown in his red suit, gun-toting vampire self hunting down other vampires. He calls the leader of the organization of Hellsing, Integra, his master, and more or less obeys all of her orders. But as the series goes on, we can kind of gather that this relationship is beneficial to both of them in various ways. Alucard thrives on chaos and battle, and being with Hellsing allows him to meet and challenge other vampires and creatures to combat. And much like other battle-crazed characters, Alucard is looking for that challenge. It's a staple of the overpowered character archetype, looking for someone to rival them and perhaps even defeat them. Alucard gets excited, and almost Hisoka levels excited, when he meets a challenger and loves to test their skills. But when Alucard is let down by an opponent, which he always winds up being, he doesn't leave the fight or allow his opponent to go train to get stronger. No, Alucard will take out his disappointment on his opponents by physically and verbally destroying them, ripping them apart, making them suffer, and giving them a disgusting and horribly painful death.
So, I see you for what you really are. You're pathetic. Nothing but a useless sniveling lump of meat. Silence! I'm a dog. Then you're dog food.
If you let him down in battle, it'll be the last mistake that you ever make, and being as powerful as he is, he will do it in a variety of crazy creative ways. So many vampire powers throughout all of fiction are incorporated into Alucard's powers and abilities. Just a small sample of, he of course has enhanced strength and speed, but also the ability to transform his body into wolves and other beasts and into black mist, contorting and manipulating his body into various positions. hypnosis, invulnerability, and regeneration. He has been shot, dismembered, decapitated, and his body will still reform no matter what the damage. He's practically impervious to any damage, and he actually seems to enjoy getting shot and stabbed and ripped apart, basically allowing it to happen only to show his enemies up moments later by reforming himself and then overpowering them. Alucard also, though working for Hellsing, is not what you would call a good character. He has and continues to kill humans that get in his way, including that of an entire troop of police officers. In intense moments of violence and passion, he does lose control for a bit and has to bring himself back to center.
Now you see, the reason why I think that he personally can defeat the indestructible lizard is because of the feat that he performed when he released all the souls from the people that he killed in the past. I mean, he literally exposed millions of souls in the streets of London that he held inside of himself. That is the secret of his basically immortality and the reason why he is unable to die. But with releasing all that power, he also absorbed one of the characters that was truly immortal, because it was the concept of the Schroeder cat. And with that concept that is inside of him right now, there is absolutely no way that he can be killed as a character. In the two fights of the creatures, that is impossible that each one of them die. I think that we will have one of the endless fights, and the winners, it's hard to say who would be, but Alucard had the great arsenal of the opportunity to win this. Of course, that is pretty much I have to say about this video. Hope you like it. I wanted to do something unusual for me because I'm more focused on the martial arts or mysteries of the real world instead of the things that happen in the fiction. That is pretty much what I have to say. If this video reach about 100 views, I will make something similar. That will be all. Lord of the New is out.